Did you know that one of the greatest minds in history was once so lost in thought that he forgot to eat, drink, or even notice an enemy attack? This is the story of Archimedes, a man whose genius changed the world forever. In this video, you will hear the fascinating story of his life and at the same time, learn English through stories. On a warm afternoon in the bustling city of Syracuse, a young boy named Archimedes stood at the edge of the harbor, watching the waves crash against the shore. The salty air filled his lungs, and his sharp eyes studied the way the water swirled and foamed. He wasn't just any child. His mind was different. While others played games, Archimedes played with ideas. He loved puzzles, numbers, and shapes. Born around 287 BC in the Greek city of Syracuse, Archimedes was fortunate to grow up in a city that was both beautiful and advanced. His father, Phidias, was an astronomer, a person who studied stars and planets, and he encouraged young Archimedes to ask questions about the world. Why does the sun move across the sky? Why does water rise when you step into a bathtub? His father didn't always have the answers, but he taught Archimedes an important lesson: never stop questioning. As a young man, Archimedes traveled to Alexandria, Egypt, the intellectual center of the ancient world. There, he studied under great mathematicians and philosophers. He read scrolls filled with knowledge from scholars before him. The great library of Alexandria, with its thousands of scrolls, became his playground. He learned about geometry, physics, and astronomy. But what fascinated him most was the power of numbers. To Archimedes, numbers were not just symbols. They were the key to understanding everything. One day, while observing workers moving heavy stones for construction, Archimedes saw them struggling. He noticed how they used levers, a simple machine used to lift or move heavy objects, to make their work easier. That night, he sat on the glow of an oil lamp, sketching ideas on a wax tablet. He realized that with the right use of levers, a single man could move something as massive as a ship. Later, he famously declared, "Give me a place to stand and I will move the earth." Of course, he couldn't actually move the earth, but his point was clear. Understanding the principles of mechanics could make the impossible possible. Back in Syracuse, Archimedes' fame grew. People came to him with problems, and he loved solving them. But his most famous discovery came from something quite ordinary: a bath. The king of Syracuse, Hiero II, had given gold to a goldsmith to make a beautiful crown. But when the crown was finished, the king became suspicious. He thought the goldsmith had cheated him by mixing silver with the gold. However, he had no way to prove it without melting the crown, which he didn't want to do. The problem puzzled Archimedes. He thought about it day and night, but no solution came to him. One evening, tired from thinking, he decided to take a bath. As he stepped into the tub, he noticed something strange. The water level rose as he lowered himself into the water. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He jumped out of the tub and ran through the streets, shouting, "Eureka! Eureka!" a Greek word meaning, "I have found it." The people of Syracuse laughed at the sight of the famous thinker running naked, but Archimedes didn't care. He had discovered the principle of buoyancy, the ability of an object to float in water. The next day, Archimedes tested his idea. He took 2 lumps of metal, 1 gold and 1 silver, and placed them separately in water, measuring how much water each displaced, pushed out of the way. Then, he did the same with the crown. If it were pure gold, it would displace the same amount of water as a lump of gold. But if it contained silver, it would displace more. His experiment proved that the goldsmith had indeed mixed silver into the crown. The king was furious, and the goldsmith was punished. This discovery was just one of many. Archimedes went on to design war machines to defend Syracuse from its enemies. He created giant catapults, weapons that launch heavy objects, mirrors that could focus sunlight to burn enemy ships, and even an early version of a screw pump a device to move water uphill. His mind never rested. But despite all his brilliance, Archimedes remained humble. He was not interested in wealth or power. He was happiest when he was lost in thought, drawing circles in the sand and exploring the secrets of the universe. Little did he know that one day, his love for knowledge would lead to his tragic end. Archimedes was now a man whose name was whispered with both admiration and fear. His genius had not only impressed the scholars of his time, but also caught the attention of powerful rulers. Syracuse, his beloved city, was thriving, but trouble was on the horizon. The Romans, an ambitious and relentless force, had set their sights on Sicily, and Syracuse was one of the last strongholds standing in their way. The city prepared for war, and King Hiero too knew that Archimedes was their greatest hope. The aging mathematician, who found joy in puzzles and scientific discoveries, now turned his mind to warfare. He did not wield a sword or command an army, but he had something far more powerful: his intellect. Using his knowledge of mechanics and physics, Archimedes designed incredible war machines. Some of his inventions were simple yet highly effective, like catapults that could launch massive stones at enemy ships. These weapons could crush ships even before they reached the shore. But his most terrifying creation was something the Romans had never seen before. One day, as Roman ships approached Syracuse, they were met with an unexpected sight. Enormous iron claws, hanging from hidden mechanisms on the city walls, reached down and lifted ships out of the water. These were the famous claw of Archimedes, giant hooks operated by ropes and pulleys that could overturn ships and send them crashing into the sea. The Roman sailors panicked, their cries filling the air as their vessels were destroyed one by one. But Archimedes was not finished yet. He had another trick, one that seemed almost magical. Reports from Roman historians tell of mirrors, polished to perfection, used to reflect sunlight onto enemy ships. The concentrated light, like a burning glass, set the wooden ships on fire. Whether this truly happened or was a legend, we may never know. But one thing was certain: Archimedes had become the greatest defender of Syracuse. For months, the Romans tried to conquer the city, but Archimedes' machines made it impossible. The invaders grew frustrated and desperate. One Roman general even said, "If only we could capture this one man, the war would be won." But Archimedes remained focused, not on war itself, but on solving problems. His mind was still filled with questions about numbers, shapes, and the secrets of the universe. Even in the midst of battle, he continued to work on mathematical theories, lost in his own world of discovery. As the siege dragged on, Syracuse began to weaken. The Romans, known for their persistence, finally found a way to break through. One fateful night, after years of resistance, the Roman forces launched a surprise attack. The walls of Syracuse were breached, and soldiers poured into the city. Chaos erupted. The once thriving streets were now filled with terrified citizens running for their lives. Archimedes, however, was undisturbed. While the city burned, he was sitting in his study, drawing diagrams in the sand. He had just discovered something new, something exciting, and the noise outside did not matter to him. But soon, the noise reached his doorstep. A Roman soldier burst into his home, sword in hand. The soldier, exhausted from the battle, recognized the old man. He had been given strict orders: capture Archimedes alive. The Roman general wanted him as a prize, a mind that could be useful for Rome. But Archimedes, still deep in thought, did not even look up. He was staring at his work, muttering to himself, when the soldier shouted at him to stand. "Do not disturb my circles," Archimedes said, his voice calm, almost indifferent. He was more concerned about his work than his own life. But the soldier, blinded by rage and the heat of battle, did not care for circles or genius. In a moment of thoughtless violence, he raised his sword and struck down the greatest mind of his time. Just like that, Archimedes, the man who could move the earth, was gone. The Romans, realizing what had happened, were filled with regret. Their general, furious as orders had been ignored, gave Archimedes the respect he deserved in death. But it was too late. A mind like his could never be replaced. Though his life ended in tragedy, his legacy was just beginning. His discoveries, from the laws of buoyancy to the principles of levers, continued to shape the world for centuries. His work laid the foundation for modern mathematics and physics, influencing minds like Galileo and Newton. Even today, students and scholars study his theorems, and his inventions still inspire engineers. Archimedes had lived not for power, not for wealth, but for the joy of discovery. He had shown the world that knowledge is the greatest power of all. And though he was gone, his ideas remained, echoing through history, proving that true genius never dies. After Archimedes' tragic death, the city of Syracuse fell completely under Roman control. The streets that had once echoed with the sounds of scholars debating and merchants selling their goods were now silent, heavy with loss. But while the man was gone, his ideas lived on, carried far beyond the city he had once called home, waiting to inspire generations to come. The Romans, though skilled in warfare and governance, had always admired Greek knowledge. They collected scrolls from the great libraries and preserved many of the works of Greek thinkers, including Archimedes. Some Roman scholars studied his writings, attempting to understand the depths of his discoveries. Yet, for many years, his work remained in the shadows, known only to a few who could comprehend its brilliance. It was as if the world had momentarily forgotten one of its greatest minds. But not for long. One of these admirers was a Roman engineer named Vitruvius. He recognized the genius of Archimedes and documented some of his inventions, ensuring that they were not forgotten. Another was Cicero, a statesman and philosopher, who, while visiting Syracuse, searched the grave of Archimedes. He found it overgrown with weeds, its engravings barely visible. With great respect, he ordered its restoration, ensuring that future generations would not forget the man who had once said he could move the earth if only given a place to stand. This act, small as it seemed, was a testament to the enduring impact of Archimedes' work. Centuries passed, and as the Roman Empire declined, much of the ancient world's knowledge was lost. Archimedes' works, written on delicate parchment and stored in libraries, were scattered, some lost forever. The world moved into a period known as the Dark Ages, where much of the intellectual progress of the past seemed to stall. But knowledge has a way of surviving, even through darkness. In the medieval period, scholars in the Islamic world took a keen interest in Greek mathematics and science. Arabic mathematicians translated and preserved many of Archimedes' works, ensuring that his genius would reach future generations. It was through them that his knowledge remained intact and later found its way back to Europe. One of the most significant rediscoveries happened in the 12th century when European scholars, eager to regain lost knowledge, translated these Arabic texts back into Latin. Slowly, Archimedes' works found their way into universities and scholarly circles. His principles of geometry, his studies of levers and fluids, and his remarkable calculations of pi inspired a new generation of thinkers. It was as if a long-lost treasure had been uncovered, ready to guide humanity forward once more. During the Renaissance, a time of great revival in science and art, Archimedes' name shone brightly once more. Leonardo da Vinci, one of history's most brilliant minds, studied his writings and used his ideas to refine his own engineering concepts. He sketched designs of machines based on Archimedean principles, using his knowledge to push the boundaries of invention. Galileo Galilei, another great scientist, called Archimedes his greatest influence. Galileo expanded upon Archimedes' work on levers and motion, laying the groundwork for what would later become modern physics. Without Archimedes, perhaps the entire course of scientific development would have been different. Perhaps one of the most incredible stories of Archimedes' lasting impact comes from a forgotten manuscript. Hidden for centuries, in the early 20th century, scholars discovered an ancient book, the Archimedes palimpsest. It was a medieval prayer book, but underneath the religious text were faint traces of something older, mathematical writings. When researchers examined it closely, they realized it contained lost works of Archimedes, erased and written over by monks centuries earlier. Using modern technology, historians were able to recover these hidden texts, revealing new insights into the mind of the ancient genius. Archimedes had calculated numbers with astonishing precision, understood infinity in ways that no one else had at the time, and explored the concept of calculus long before Newton and Leibniz formalized it. His brilliance had stretched beyond his own time, influencing mathematics and science for centuries to come. The palimpsest showed that he had developed a method similar to integral calculus, nearly 2,000 years before it became a fundamental branch of mathematics. It was a stunning realization. Archimedes had been centuries ahead of his time. As the modern world advanced, the impact of Archimedes only grew. His discoveries found applications in engineering, architecture, and even space exploration. The principle of buoyancy, which he discovered in a simple bathtub, helped engineers design submarines. His understanding of levers played a crucial role in mechanical innovations. His mathematical calculations continue to serve as a foundation for scientific advancements. Even today, his work influences robotics, fluid dynamics, and aerodynamics. His legacy is woven into the very fabric of modern science and technology. Archimedes may have lived over 2,000 years ago, but his spirit remains alive in every scientific discovery and every student who studies his work. His story is not just about war machines and brilliant discoveries. It is about the power of curiosity, the endless pursuit of knowledge, and the belief that understanding the world is the greatest adventure of all. His life teaches us that knowledge, once discovered, never truly fades. It merely waits to be rediscovered by those who seek it. And so, the legacy of Archimedes continues, proving that true genius is never forgotten, only waiting to be rediscovered by those willing to seek it. His principles still inspire new generations of mathematicians, scientists, and engineers. They remind us that the pursuit of knowledge is an unending journey, one that stretches beyond time, borders, and civilizations. Archimedes' name, once whispered in the halls of ancient Syracuse, now echoes across the world, carried by the minds of those who dare to dream and explore. After centuries of rediscovery and admiration, Archimedes' influence continued to shape the modern world. His ideas laid the foundation for numerous scientific breakthroughs, proving that true genius transcends time and continues to inspire generations beyond his own. As the Industrial Revolution took hold, engineers and scientists applied Archimedes' principles in remarkable ways. His studies of fluid mechanics helped in the design of hydraulic machines, irrigation systems, and advanced water supply networks, transforming cities and industries. His understanding of levers and pulleys contributed to construction of massive bridges, towering buildings, and complex mechanical systems that allowed humanity to expand its reach like never before. His mathematical insights into geometry influenced architects and designers, leading to structures that were not only stronger but also more efficient in material use. The world was transforming, and Archimedes' ideas were at the heart of it. One of the most astonishing applications of his work came with space exploration. When NASA engineers designed spacecraft, they relied on principles of physics that Archimedes had helped define. His laws of buoyancy inspired new ways to manage weight and balance in space shuttles and satellites, ensuring precise calculations for successful launches and landings. Even the famous heat shields used to protect astronauts during re-entry into Earth's atmosphere owe some of their effectiveness to the mathematical principles first explored by Archimedes. His studies of parabolas and reflective surfaces also played a role in optics and satellite technology, enabling advancements in communication, telescopes, and solar energy collection. His influence extends far beyond engineering and physics. The Archimedean spiral, a mathematical concept he explored, has applications in modern computing, biology, and even economics. His work with infinitesimals laid the groundwork for integral calculus, centuries before Newton and Leibniz formally developed it. Many mathematical techniques used in science today, from measuring areas under curves to calculating volumes of irregular objects, trace their origins back to his theories. Without Archimedes, many of the fundamental tools that drive technological progress might never have existed. But beyond these technological marvels, Archimedes' true legacy is in the spirit of inquiry he left behind. He showed that science is not just about answers, it is about questions. His relentless curiosity, his passion for discovery, and his fearless pursuit of knowledge serve as an inspiration to scientists, engineers, and thinkers of every generation. His famous principle of buoyancy, discovered while taking a simple bath, reminds us that great ideas often come when we least expect them, and that observation, patience, and a willingness to challenge established norms can lead to groundbreaking discoveries. Even today, his name is spoken in classrooms, his discoveries are studied in universities, and his legacy is celebrated in scientific circles. The Archimedes principle remains one of the most fundamental concepts in physics, and his mathematical insights continue to influence researchers in unexpected ways. In robotics, engineers apply his mechanical laws to develop automated machines. In medicine, Archimedean methods of volume displacement help doctors accurately measure body composition. In finance, economic models use his geometric principles to optimize resource distribution and trade algorithms. His genius is alive in the technology we use daily, from smartphones to high-speed transportation systems. Archimedes' story is a reminder that knowledge has no boundaries, no limits, and no end. It is passed from one mind to another, growing and evolving over time. From the shores of ancient Syracuse to the depths of space, his genius continues to shape the world, proving that true brilliance never fades. It only grows stronger with time. His resilience during the siege of Syracuse and his commitment to his work, even in the face of war, remind us that true dedication to learning can withstand any adversity. The world may change, but the pursuit of knowledge remains eternal. And so, as we look back on his life and achievements, we realize that Archimedes' greatest lesson was not in any single invention or discovery, but in his unwavering belief that the universe is a puzzle waiting to be solved. And for those who dare to ask questions, who dare to seek answers, and who dare to dream beyond their time, the spirit of Archimedes will always live on. Whether in a scientist's laboratory, a student's notebook, or an engineer's blueprint, his influence persists, urging humanity to continue pushing the boundaries of what is possible.